So coming into this season for the Spring 2018 anime season, one of the shows that stuck out the most to me was the one that we're talking about this week. And the reason it stuck out to me a lot was just because the overall premise sounded intriguing with the whole treasure hunting, and also Geno Studio has been impressing me. They're a fairly new studio, they've only done 2 projects minus this one, which will be their third, which was the movie Genocidal Organ. They finished up that when Manglobe shut down. As well, they did Kokoku last season, and now they're doing this one. And coming into this and coming out of this, I feel more or less the same as I did. I had a lot of fun, and I expected I'd have a lot of fun. And I know everyone and their mother is going to be talking about the CGI. I've already seen puns about how unbearable the bear CGI was, and yes, I can definitely agree, but I want to talk about the stuff I liked first, because there was a lot that I actually enjoyed with this. This was a very different feeling anime than what I'm typically used to with seasonal anime. The overall atmosphere was actually kind of on this more or less funny side, but it also had this more serious tone, and that's a hard line to walk in my opinion. I feel like a lot of times when anime have this kind of tiptoeing around more serious and kind of comedic, it almost feels like they don't know what type of show they want to be, but I actually found that they walked the fine line of this in a pretty interesting way, where it's not a comedy anime in any way, but it does have this more lighthearted atmosphere to a more serious environment, which I think is a hard thing to nail, and I actually think they did a fairly good job. And for those who have no idea what the show is about, the overall idea is you essentially have this soldier who's no longer a soldier, the war is seemingly done, and essentially he made a promise to his friend who died on the battlefield that he would look after his wife and child. I believe it was his wife, it might have just been a girlfriend, but nonetheless, she is more or less blind, it seems like. And of course, if you have a child, that's going to take a lot of money. So essentially, he's hunting for gold, and then in comes this man who tells him an old drunken tale about how there is this hidden stash of treasure, and if you can locate all the tattoos on all these inmates' body, you can pinpoint a map and get a shit ton of treasure. And essentially that's the idea in a nutshell. And then you get this other girl character who comes in, essentially wants revenge for her family or her tribe, someone who got killed by some of these members. And then you have our main character who is set on the path of gold so he can fund his dead friend's wish. And that overall is a pretty intriguing setup. Now, this episode didn't necessarily wow me, I didn't have my jaw on the floor, I was, 10 out of 10 episode, but it has a pretty intriguing setup, and I like the main character enough that this is something I can definitely see myself sticking with the entire season. The overall episode was set in one location, which was the woods that was frozen, and we had some bears, and we had some, campfire stock footage in this episode. But overall, I actually enjoyed the background detail because it definitely doesn't strike you as the same, feudal Japan or just regular Japanese kind of settings you would typically see. It was nice to just have a different setting right off the bat, and I hope we do see some more kind of outdoor environments like this, because I think it will definitely add to the atmosphere. Obviously we're going to see some towns, we're going to see some Japanese towns maybe, or something like that. Just overall, I enjoyed the presence that this episode had. And yes, the CGI was bad, but I actually just liked the overall design of the characters. The main character's facial design reminds me something that would be pulled out of a JoJo part, which I especially like the design for him. The main female lead there, she looks good, but I really like the male lead's character design the most. It just really feels different. He definitely seems kind of like a badass soldier who you might not think could kick your ass at first glance, but then when you actually see how he's fighting there, you can definitely get a sense that this guy is a barbarian on the battlefield. And I can't wait to see where his kind of combat's going to go, and just the insane facial expressions I guarantee this guy's going to have, just based on the little snippets we saw in this episode where we're flashing back to the war and he just had some grins on his face as he was brutally killing people. This guy's definitely gonna crack me up and also maybe make me a little scared of him at times. I think that's gonna be fun. Now, let's talk about the bad thing, and this is the CGI bear. And this, you could probably argue, is one of the more obvious CGI points. And here's the thing with it. CGI really doesn't bother me in anime. I'll call it out, but I know for this is going to ruin the episode for some people. For me, it's fine. One of my favorite anime that kind of has been reoccurring recently is Garo, and they animate the fight scenes pretty much all in 3D when they have the armor. And I actually really like how they use it. It's very unpolished, unrefined. It's not as detailed as obviously hand-drawn animation will be, but it allows for them to do things in the fight scenes that aren't really able to be done in hand-drawn 2D animation. And I read a tweet from, I think it's the official account for this anime, and I'll have it linked, I'll have it pinned in the comments section below, and it explained that this was an intentional thing. And just because it's an intentional 3D bear doesn't mean it's good and you can pass off saying I don't like it. But I understand why they went the route they did, because to animate the fur and animate some of the things that happen in this episode, to do it in 2D just wouldn't be worth it for the time, and also it would be very hard to achieve some of the things that they did. and he also wanted to essentially make the bear seem very different from the characters. And that's something that anime does do from time to time, where you have a different object from the characters and they want it to really feel like it's out of place. And yes, sometimes it works in the case of, say, Garo, and then sometimes it doesn't, like in the case of the bear here. But overall, like, I expect we're gonna see a lot of 3D bears, but that doesn't really ruin it for me. It doesn't mean you have to like it. You don't have to like it because it was an intentional, creative choice, but it's... at least you can understand that this wasn't something that they just slapped on for no reason. This was done intentionally because to be able to achieve what they're going to need to do with this, because apparently bears are pretty prominent in the manga from what I know, and there's going to be a lot of bear fighting. Apparently that's a thing in this series, which I think is pretty cool. People are going to get upset. I think this is going to be a constant meme that there is just this insane... I think this is going to be the new Studio Dean dragon. That thing was on the internet for a while because of how bad the dragon looked, but like I said, it doesn't really ruin it for me. It's definitely not pretty and like eye-pleasing, but I definitely can understand why they went the route they did. But we'll have to wait and see where the series goes from here to see how they're going to use the 3D in the future episodes. But the overall backgrounds and character models themselves, they all look good, and I like how they animated those, especially with the facial expressions. So I'm willing to put up with some bad bears 3D as long as the overall story and characters keep me hooked. If those start falling apart, then maybe the bear CGI is going to get a little more noticeable for me, but that's just me. Like, overall, like, I'm very interested to see where the character relationship is going to go, because you have the basically two characters going for the same objective, but for different reasons. One's going for revenge for their comrades, and then the other is going for treasure, but that treasure is going to be used to help his dead friend's family. And I think that's an intriguing setup. Also, just having an actual treasure hunting anime, nothing pandering to the moe kind of like blob shows that typically have the treasure hunting, I feel like. I just like it. I actually think this could be a very fun anime based on what I've heard from the source material readers. They say it's a really good manga, and overall, like, I think this is going to be one that's going to be fun to watch, that most people, I think, are probably going to find something here to enjoy, as long as unbearable 3D bears aren't that bad and are going to ruin your experience. I think many people are going to have fun with this. It's not going to be for everyone. There definitely is a different atmosphere that this anime is presenting that isn't going to be for everyone, and I can understand completely if you don't like it. But personally, this episode clicked for me. I like the voice acting. I like the presentation minus the bear. Overall, I think episode 2 is going to be pretty fun next week. But let me know your thoughts. What did you think? If you read the manga, how did you enjoy the adaptation? If you're new, what did you think? Let's try to comment down on the bear comments. I actually want to see things other than the bears be mentioned in the comments. I just want to see what people thought of either the characters or things like that. Let me know down in that comment section below. Before you leave, smack that like button, share your support. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. So until next time, everyone, please take care and have a good one.